just want to welcome people to the Football Transfer Show, the second one. Just going to put into context what we're going to just speak about very quickly, primarily around Man United transfer news, but we will touch upon other major transfer news as well. Yeah, going back to your point there, Bill, I think like all the teams will want to will want to strengthen in the transfer window in the summer.
Yeah,
Especially like you said,
yeah,
Chelsea will, Liverpool will, Man
yeah.
United they have to Manchester United.
It's going to be a lot of competition with other clubs, because we're going to be looking at similar kinds of players. So it's going to be really competitive, and we just need to make sure that whoever is on the negotiations team for United needs to act really quick and snap these deals up really fast. Otherwise, we're gonna lose out to teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool, who are looking to strengthen. So we need to act quick. But it already looks like Ollie's identified his key targets. I mean, just
Of
going
course,
over what came out in the Manchester Evening News. United linked to Haaland and a potential reunion with Ronaldo. So there's some big stories to digest there. I think there's a lot more fluidity in the Haaland story, because obviously I think Ronaldo's a bit of a long shot, 36 as well, so you got to take his age into consideration, and the wages are astronomical. So it's gonna equate to about six or 700,000 pounds a week, and whether United can afford that is another story. And if we're looking to bolster the squad elsewhere, we need to make sure the funds are available for the deals that are priority rather than you know kind of romantical, if that makes sense.
of course, and I'm glad you brought up the Ronaldo story because would like to start with that one. To be fair, it's the fairy tale, isn't it, for most United fans to see him back home, as we would say, to see him back at Old Trafford. But it'd be our second time going in for him. Second within a year. Do you think we should be looking elsewhere for Ronaldo?
Look, I think that the days of Cristiano Ronaldo at United are over. This players like Erling Haaland scoring 20 Champions League goals in 14 games. That's in my eyes. That's Ronaldo now. That's the new Ronaldo. Um, I mean, 'cause you know what I'm implying when I say that. It's that caliber of player in our squad, exactly how Ronaldo was that caliber of player when we needed him way back when. Haaland is that kind of player that we need now, with Martial's poor form, and of course Cavani's shock admission of wanting to return home and potentially to Boca Juniors. It's a perfect time to make a signing, and we should go all out for Haaland. But there's lots of competition for Haaland, so we've got to be wary of that. I mean, Thomas Tuchel coming out and saying that the prospect of signing Haaland at Chelsea would be immense. So we've got to factor in that Chelsea are also looking for a top tier striker, even though the signing of Erling Haaland, sorry, the signing of Timo Werner just a season prior, and that just goes to show you, if you come into a big club and your form is poor, a team like Chelsea is going to act uh, exactly like that the next season to replace you. And it looks that way. It looks as though it's a replacement for Werner, but I mean, we can't. I don't know exactly what Thomas Tuchel's thinking, but he definitely wants Haaland, whether it's to play as a strike partner with Timo Werner or just to give him some competition. Perhaps it's that. It's just that.
Haaland, he like you said, he's the man in demand. But I just want to touch on the Ronaldo again. It's tempting to bring him back. Of course it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was a legend, that mate. 5 times Ballon d'Or winner, legend in his own right. But for me, we need to be moving on from Ronaldo. Like I said at the beginning, it's a fairy tale. It would be a fairy tale return. It doesn't make sense on paper for me personally. I think the time for us as Man United, we need to be moving on from Ronaldo. It would be a fairy tale return. It doesn't make sense on paper for me personally. I think the time for us as Man United, we need to be moving on from Ronaldo. It would be a fairy tale return. It doesn't make sense on paper for me personally. fans to accept Ronaldo was not going to come back to us was when he went to Juventus, and he
Oh
snubbed
yeah, absolutely.
United then in
Yeah, yeah,
2018.
yeah.
His fitness, he's 36. His fitness is still exemplary, but he's not exactly a long-term solution, and that's where you've hit the nail on the head with Haaland. He's the guy.
A lot of, absolutely. But just good touching back on what you said there about Ronaldo. Lots of people do not want to admit this, but if you watch Ronaldo play, especially this season, just the way he drops off the attack, and it almost looks like he's lost a good yard of pace as well. And you've got to take that into account as well. He's dropping his head in games. I know he's scoring the goals, but this is the Italian league we're talking about. We're talking about centre backs who aren't particularly quick, and midfielders who aren't particularly mobile. So it's, I mean, I know it's a general assumption there, and it's a bit more general, but I think the Serie A is a different league to the Premier League. And if you brought Ronaldo back into United in this Premier League side, in our Premier League side, um, I think it will. He, I don't think he would play how fans want him to play. It'd
100%.
almost be like a reserved role in the team, in the squad. So yeah, I wouldn't like to see Ronaldo. Obviously, the romantic in me wants to see Ronaldo back at United, but it's not practical for us. We want to make progress, and we're thinking to the future. And someone like Erling Haaland would probably be that future. Just gonna roll off this question, and then we'll move back over the
We
show.
got Ronaldo, and Martial went out. Oh no, it sounds terrible, but I would love to. I would take that. I would take 2 years of Ronaldo and let Martial go if he does turn really amazing. But he just last 2 years, it's been a little of a. Let's be honest, we all seen the decline a bit of Martial. Maybe just, I don't know, maybe he's not getting fed like people say. The midfield's not feeding him properly, but we get Ronaldo in his team. I think not just the goals he scores, the way he would lead the team, like Bruno Fernandes, that link up, the Portuguese link up with Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo. Oh, I'm just saying, man, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
And
But go on. Sorry, what were you saying, Sean?
I think that's the general consensus of probably 95% of the Man United fans that they would love to see. But the league's changed since Ronaldo was last in the league. He hasn't played in the Premier League for a good 10, 11, 12 years now. The league's developed a lot since then. I don't think he'd hit the
Yeah,
ground running.
absolutely.
I don't think he'd start, but I don't think he'd enjoy his time in England again, which would be, not viable for anyone. It doesn't make sense on paper for me, but I do appreciate the comment there, MMA. Fairy tale. I'd love to see him back at United, but I think the time for him to come maybe was when he left Madrid, and then he snubbed us for another challenge in Juventus, which you can only say, fair play
Yeah,
to him because he wanted to try his luck in Serie A, and he did. He done it. But for now, I think we should stay away from Ronaldo, and I don't think it's practical, like you says there, Bill, for us to go for him
yeah.
now when there's other people out there now.
Absolutely. I know this is a bit off the cuff, but people look at Ronaldo as a legend, and of course he's a legend of the game. But when you look within our own club, he left us to join Real Madrid. In my mind, I love Ronaldo as a player. Don't get me wrong, but I don't glorify him as a you know all time United. He of course he's a legend, but something inside me wants to say that we should appreciate players like Rooney and
Yeah,
Scholes more than players like Ronaldo, who move from club to club. Because Rooney gave everything to the club for so many years, more than 11 years at the club. I think, was it 10 or 11, something like that, 11 years at the club. I want to appreciate a player like that, rather than somebody like Ronaldo. And if he did come back to the club, look, as a Man United fan, as a fan of Ronaldo, I would support him. But I would say he's doing it for the wrong reasons.
yes.
It's gonna, of course, gonna be the money. Um, but do you know what I mean? It's just my opinion, and it's a bit controversial. But um, Ronaldo's always going to be a great, and if he does come out, I mean, I'll watch him with relish. But if he if he doesn't, do you know what I mean? No love lost. Do you know what I mean? I think United should be looking for that the younger kind of talent. Yeah, definitely should be out looking for the younger talent.
I'm just going to say one more point on Ronaldo, and then I'm going to touch on Haaland. But bringing him back to Manchester, I'm talking about Ronaldo. It'd be a hell of a story. It would sell shirts. It would splash across the globe, but it wouldn't make the best solution on the pitch. And I think that's what we're both getting at with Ronaldo.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should be now focusing on a way to get back to the top of the table. Ronaldo could help in that, but there's no guarantee. And that's where we come in. That's where we come into Erling Haaland. There's no doubt Erling Haaland is a dream candidate for all Man United fans now. But like you said earlier, Bill,
be honest, Haaland, yeah,
the competition's fierce.
Haaland, yeah,
half of Europe's elites after this guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, did you see the story this morning that Dortmund have slapped €150 million price tag on Haaland?
And for me, that's still cheap. There's still a cheap one for him because he's only going to get better and better. I'm surprised.
Oh, absolutely.
I reckon there has to be a release clause in there somewhere. I haven't read anything about a release clause, but I reckon he's got a release clause in there somewhere, or some sort of clause in his contract that allows him to leave.
Yeah, there will be a release clause. But I think the minimum amount you can get Haaland for this season, prize him away from Dortmund, you're looking at least 110 million. And that's pounds. That's and I don't think United are going to splash that much on one player, because when it came to purchasing Jadon Sancho last season, the most we were willing to yield was about 80 million and 10 million in add-ons.
Yeah.
So 90 million all in all, and if they're asking another 30 million for Haaland, I mean, it might mean that we need to sell a player this season, and if that means Martial and or Pogba, then that's going to leave our squad in disarray and mean we will definitely need to sign a midfielder then. So it's one of those. It's disappointing. But I mean, the reality is, where are we going to raise these funds? And to raise these funds, we're going to need to sell either Pogba or Martial. And judging off how quiet Mino Raiola, Pogba's agent, is being at the minute, it would suggest that something behind the scenes is being hatched, and potentially Pogba could slip away this summer.
And I think there's no doubt in that Manchester United, like every club in the world, in Europe, has been hit by the COVID pandemic. Finances are tough. Revenue is down. So. And that's going to play a massive part into the budget we have in the summer. And I think you've made a great point. We need to offload. And there's about 5 or 6 players on the list that could be offloaded to make way for funds. Haaland, like you said, is not going to be cheap. MMA brought up a good point with Martial being used as bait. As leverage. Do you see that happening at all? Being Martial being offered in the exchange?
Well, I said before on a previous show that as a make way for Haaland, I would get rid of Martial. But for anybody else, absolutely not. No, because Martial's one of them players that when he hits the heights, he's as good as Mbappe, do you know what I mean? Or if not equal in terms of raw skill and raw talent. But on his worst days, I mean, he's about as good as Jeff McGoldrick. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. Sometimes when I see him play, I think world class. Sometimes when I see him play, I think, absolute. What are you doing at United? So it's very hit and miss with Martial. His performances are very much dependent on his state of mind at the time, and I think he's got a bit of a fragile mentality. I don't know Martial personally, so this is just speculation, fan speculation. But it seems like he's put off by little things. By Cavani joining seemed to affect his form. Last season, a season prior, a fallout with Mourinho seemed to hinder his form. A few injuries. And then curtains. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to put a finger on what the problem is, but Martial needs to. I mean, next season, don't get me wrong, it's a make or break season for Martial. if he doesn't score more than 15 goals in that
Questions.
season, then absolutely, then he's a lost cause. He's a lost cause, and then we should make way to sign another attacker. Maybe Milik Rashika, mentioned him in a price show. Really electric centre forward from German league. Would love to see him at United. Just talking a bit about other transfer news. An interesting story coming out from Liverpool Echo. A player from Inter Milan linked with Liverpool, Alessandro Bastoni, a centre back. A defensive player. Can play any of the positions at the back by all accounts. It looks like Liverpool want to strengthen, and that seems to me like they've lost a little bit of faith in Joe Gomez and Van Dijk. What do you think about that statement in particular?
What it is there, I think they know that they can't rely on the fitness of especially Joe Gomez and Joe Matip. When they're fit, 100%, they're quality players, but you can't guarantee their fitness. And I think Jurgen Klopp has now decided that he needs to get some reinforcements in there that can play at the back. And personally, I haven't seen Bastoni play, or I don't know much about him. So it's a signal to me that they're definitely looking at new signings in defensive positions for next season, just due to the fact that they can't rely on the Joe Gomez and the Joe Matip fitness. Van Dijk, I can't remember him being injured before he got this horrible injury against Villa this season. He'll be back next season.
I don't rate Van Dijk that highly. I mean, he's a good player, but I think there's lots of defenders in the Premier League who have gone unnoticed and are doing a similar, or if not as good a job as Van Dijk is. I've got really mixed opinions about Van Dijk. I think he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. Probably top 5 in the Premier League in terms of centre-backs. We've got people like Aymeric Laporte, I mean, doing it for City week in, week out whenever he's in the squad. Of course, with the emergence of Ruben Diaz as well. So there's a couple of players that I'd say who are doing, if not as good a job as Van Dijk. You remember as well, he's only done it in this Liverpool squad for a season and a half, and look, it looks like they're not going to finish in the top 4 this season. So that to me indicates that this Liverpool run was one of good fortune, because teams were really weak, and teams like Arsenal and Chelsea were really weak, and that's why I think next season is going to be so important, because you got lots of teams in the top 6 looking to strengthen next season, and it's going to be a much more competitive league next season, and I think Liverpool have got a point to prove that this season wasn't a one-trick pony, and that's why they're gonna. I think FSG are going to back them with their signings next season. Definitely, I think they'll get Bastoni, and they'll get maybe another attacker as well, because Origi, by all accounts, is looking like he's on his way out of the club as well, falling out of favour with the fans. Although Klopp seems to still have faith in him, so we'll have to see where that develops. Sam.
Of course, and I'm just going to touch on Liverpool again, and they've been linked with a midfielder, which I'll touch upon. But I just want to go back to Haaland very quickly, and I've just read a quote in the Manchester Evening News, speaking about Solskjaer, Haaland in late 2019. He says, "I've dreamed of playing for the best clubs in the world my whole life, and I especially like English football." He talks about Solskjaer. He's had a huge impact on my life, both as a person and a trainer. That's the only way that I can see him coming to Man United, just as an independent view, is his relationship with Solskjaer. I don't think it counts for much, because if I'm Haaland and I'm weighing up my options, where am I going to win things quickly? I think he's probably going to be choosing Man City over Man United in the short term. But I'd love to see him at Man United. It's the dream signing, I think, for most clubs in Europe. But I just wanted to read that quote out to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. That I hadn't come across that quote before. So Haaland really is expressing his interest to play in the English league. So it could happen, but look, we know he's got links and ties to Man City, of course. His dad being a former Man City player.
Leeds,
So he got it.
Leeds as well.
Yeah, he got it. Leeds, I didn't know that. So you got to take that into account as well. So it's down to Erling Haaland and where I think if he sees United as a viable project, then he'll come to us. But at the moment, if you're looking at Man City or United, you're going to think Man City is the better project, right? You've got Pep Guardiola in charge, uh, winning leagues again this season, of course. But if we make the additional signings that we need to make and we get the structure exactly right by the summer comes around, absolutely, Haaland's going to look at United and he's going to think, yeah, do you know what? That's a project I'd like to join. But in order for us to get to that point, we need to win the FA Cup. We need to win the Europa League, and we need to stamp out authority in the next 10 in our last 10 fixtures. And I don't think we're going to do that, Sam. I think that'll be the goal for Chelsea as well, and that'll be the same for any other club in the top four. They'll want to stamp their authority on the last few games of the season to be an attractive project. So by the time the summer comes around, their ideal targets are going to want to come. Do you know, that's the same for uh, Arsenal and Chelsea as well, because I know they're looking at a few similar players. One being Ashraf Hakimi, formerly of Inter Milan. So in order for Hakimi to see Arsenal as a viable project, he's going to need to see them perform week in and week out. So for the last 10 games of the season, I think it's going to be a mad rush to make top four, and that's going to be the same for any club trying to make. It's going to be the same for West Ham. It's going to be the same for Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs. I think that mad rush to make top four. And I think if you want to sign your top targets this season, top four is going to be a big thing. Champions League is going to be a big thing, and we are quite grateful as that we've managed to put a bit of a cushion in between us and other teams. So it looks like we're definitely going to get top four this season, but we just need to keep consistency and hopefully do the transfer business that we need to do, Sam, because there's some important business that needs to be taken care of this season. We've had too many seasons previously where we've fallen just a little bit short. So it's really important this season. I think for any team looking to make top four or looking to be a regular contender in the top four, to make the priority signings, and that's probably going to be the same for Spurs and the same for other clubs who might miss out on top four this season.